Hey everyone, Tanner here, and I'm back with another project. I'm going to do something a little different in this one, and based on the title, you know this is going to be an ecosphere. More specifically, a moss ball tree ecosphere. Don't worry, that will make more sense as we go through the video. This might not be the type of ecosphere that a lot of you are looking to see from me, but we'll do a more traditional ecosphere once the weather warms up. Anyways, let's get into the build. To start, I've got this cool glass container. It took me a while to find the perfect one because I wanted a jar that didn't have a cork or opaque lid. I felt that any type of non-transparent lid would be an obstruction and detract from my vision. I really wanted to showcase the minimalistic design I'll make in just a moment, and getting something with a clear glass lid like this one was the way to go. As I said, I'll be making a tree for this setup, and as you would expect, I need some driftwood. I have various types of driftwood to choose from, but I decided that I could make the best tree using Manzanita Wood. It has a lot of character, and we can easily combine several pieces together to make a somewhat realistic miniature tree. With the right wood selected, I tested out a few pieces to find one that would work well as the trunk of the tree. Once I found the perfect piece of wood, I cut it down to a smaller, more manageable size. Now that the trunk is an appropriate height for the jar, we can make the tree's limbs. To do so, I trimmed down a few twigs and shaped the edges on a file. After preparing these twigs, they were glued onto the trunk of the tree using some super glue. I wanted to create a really branchy, well-shaped tree, so I took my time during this process. Once I achieved the look that I wanted, I trimmed down all of the limbs to make the tree more uniform. After that, I used a utility blade to remove any excess glue marks. At this point, the structure of the tree is finally complete. Let's see how it fits into the jar. I think it looks great, not too big, not too small. We can't just put it into the container though. As such, the tree was super glued onto a slate stone. After letting it dry overnight, it was finally time to add some foliage. Based on the title, I'm sure you guessed that I'll be utilizing some Marimo moss balls to create the leaves of this tree. I've been growing these out for quite a while in what was previously the terrarium in an aquarium setup. They never quite fit into that design, but I didn't have anywhere else to put them at the time, so they just kinda stayed there for a while. My intent was always to put them in something like this, so I'm glad to finally repurpose them. Anyways, they can't really be used as is. I'll have to break them up and reshape them to create a cohesive looking tree. Again, just like the branches, I was very particular during this process because I wanted them to look as close to perfect as possible. To ensure they are placed just right, I arranged the moss balls atop the branches until it looked like a mini tree. Satisfied with this look, I went on to glue everything to the branches using super glue. It's important to note that I'm only applying a dab of glue to the top of the branches. A little bit goes a long way, so I'm being fairly conservative with this. After getting it all together, I trimmed a few sections that had excess glue on them and shaped the tree a bit. And there you have it, a happy little moss ball tree. Looks pretty cool if you ask me. From here we can move on to set up the Ecosphere. Of course that's easier said than done. I started by placing the tree into the jar. From there I got a funnel and attached a hose to the narrow end. Using this contraption, I distributed sand throughout the setup. I didn't want to get sand stuck in the moss balls, and this was my way around it. Afterward, I used a fan brush and a few other tools to even out the sand. As is, this looks pretty cool, but the design would look better with some hardscape. For this one, I'm going to be using a few pieces of Pagoda Stone. I wanted to keep this design very minimalistic, so from here on out I'm not going to be adding any other plants or scaping materials. My vision was to simply showcase this little tree. That's why I wanted a container with a lid that doesn't draw the eye away from the scape. Also, I can always add stuff down the road should I change my mind, but I doubt that I will. I honestly just like the simplicity of this one. Once I got everything looking proper, it was time to fill it up with water. To do so, I slowly filled it up with my sprayer to avoid displacing the sand. I knew I wouldn't hear the end of it down in the comments if I didn't add inhabitants to this setup. For now, I'm just going to start out with a few snails. I may change that down the road, but for now, I think they'll suffice. After adding the snails, I closed it up and called it done. And that's gonna do it for this one. I know that a lot of you have been wanting me to do an Ecosphere for some time now, and although this probably isn't what you had in mind, I hope that it will hold you off for a little bit. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we'll definitely do a more traditional Ecosphere at some point in the future, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, I think this one is pretty cool, and I really like how it turned out. I'm curious to see how it holds up long term, but I expect that it should do well. So there you have it, an Ecosphere and another voiceover video. I'm always surprised when I switch it up and I get a ton of comments about people wanting to hear my voice again. I find it funny because that's a far cry to whenever I first started. That has nothing to do with this video though, so I'm gonna sign off. I really hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did and haven't done so already, I'd appreciate it if you'd take a moment to give this video a thumbs up and maybe even leave a comment. Both really help out this channel and allow me to consistently create content like this. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you're interested in content like this, be sure to subscribe and join the Serpa squad. On that, I'm out of here and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care and peace.